Tsarukyan recently gave his reaction to the UFC announcing Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight world championship while he sits on the sidelines.
And I think this is UFC game plan. It's not like a family issue or something. It's they want to make star Paddy Pimblett and to bring him to fight for the title with Topuria.
Earlier, Topuria posted, "I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter." So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria.
I already knew that Paddy gonna fight with Ilia Topuria in January, but I didn't know they're gonna do interim title versus Gaethje and Paddy.
Arman Tsarukyan just got sidelined from the next UFC main card, and fans are questioning why Dana White made this call. After Dana White announced the updated lineup without Arman Tsarukyan,
what happens to Arman? Arman's gonna have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now?
Fans immediately turned to Arman for a response. Many expected frustration, but he kept it short and direct. His reaction showed confusion more than anger, making it clear he didn't understand the decision at all. And then he posted his message on social media. He tweeted, "Make it make sense." As the new UFC lineup gained attention, fans questioned why Paddy Pimblett received a major opportunity while Arman Tsarukyan was left out. The debate sparked fast reactions online, with many comparing their positions. Seeing the conversation unfold, Paddy jumped in and playfully poked at Arman, tweeting, "You like apples?" Meanwhile, Dana White officially revealed the new UFC lineup, and many fans noticed he skipped Arman Tsarukyan when announcing the main card. Instead of mentioning Arman, Dana went straight into confirming fresh matchups and title plans. He began by highlighting Gaethje versus Paddy for the interim title, and explained that Topuria is dealing with personal issues, delaying his first quarter return. This set the direction for the rest of the announcement.
Obviously, you just saw Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim title. Earlier, Topuria posted, "I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter." So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria. Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight title. That's a badass fight. O'Malley and Song Yadong. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis.
From there, Dana continued listing the updated main card, adding new fights across several divisions. He confirmed Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight title, followed by multiple featured bouts like Arnold Ellen versus Gene Silva and Grasso versus Rose. Dana also added Umar versus Figueiredo and announced Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez for the following week. Throughout his lineup, Arman's name was never included, raising questions among fans.
Arnold Allen and Gene Silva. Alexa Grasso versus Rose Namajunas. And just added like an hour ago, 2 hours ago, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Figueiredo. And I'm going to announce this for you. 1 week later, we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. So that's January 31st, UFC 325 from Sydney, Australia. There's a bunch of other fights on there. I'll tell you later. How's everybody? You guys good? You happy? You mad?
After Dana White released the updated fight schedule, many fighters reacted to these sudden changes. Lerone Murphy was one of the first to speak up, especially after realizing how the new matchups shifted attention away from deserving contenders. The announcement left several fighters being overlooked, and Lerone shared his thoughts openly on social media, and he tweeted, "Missing the opportunity to fight one of the featherweight goats is what hurts me the most. It's not about who's the best anymore, it's about who's most popular." After Lerone Murphy voiced his frustration about missing the chance to fight one of the featherweight greats, the discussion quickly gained attention online. Many fans and analysts agreed with his point, saying that the new lineup left top contenders without clear opportunities. As the conversation grew, Denise Bell stepped in and responded directly to Lerone's post, adding his own take on the situation. He said, "Dana White after over the number one contenders in featherweight and lightweight in a single announcement." Furthermore, Ariel Helwani reacted after Dana White announced the updated UFC main card, pointing out Arman Tsarukyan's absence. He questioned what Arman must do to get a title shot, highlighting that Arman patiently recovered from injury and then dominated Dan Hooker. Helwani emphasized the frustration and confusion, noting that despite doing everything right, Arman is now left without a clear path forward, showing how unpredictable the UFC's decisions can be.
What happens to Arman? Arman's gonna have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? I know he had the fight back in January. He got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently. He went out there. He steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next, apparently. Now, of course, everything could change. Nothing really means anything. They make up the rules as they go along.
Continuing, Helwani discussed the controversy over the interim title fight. He questioned why the UFC chose Gaethje versus Paddy for the interim belt instead of a matchup that would have more clearly determined the next contender, such as Paddy versus Arman. Helwani pointed out that Arman was ready to fight months ago, and it didn't make sense that he was passed over.
How do you feel about Ilia Topuria's announcement? How do you feel about them going with Gaethje versus Pimblett for the interim title? How do you feel about that matchup? Should it have been, perhaps, I don't know, Paddy versus Arman? Maybe Paddy versus Arman as the number one contender fight. If it wasn't, Arman told us this week, he told us, I'm ready to go in January. Why couldn't we have done Paddy versus Arman for the interim belt? And then that would have been a very, very suitable number one contender fight. Why couldn't that have been the fight? Why did my voice just do that?
Adding to that, MMA Guru reacted to the UFC card announcement, noting that Arman Tsarukyan was left out of the main lineup. He highlighted how this could affect Arman's path to a title shot, especially with the interim title fight between Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, determining the next challenger for Ilia. The Guru expressed concern that Arman might miss both this fight and the following opportunity, delaying his chance at a championship.
Doubt it. I do think Pimblett's going to pull this one off and fight Ilia, while Arman doesn't just miss out on this, misses out on the next fight as well if the defense is going to be from Ilia Topuria against the winner of this, as Dana White said. So Arman's going to have to take a fight in May or April and hope that by the time September or October comes around, there'll be a title fight for him. God, that must suck. Oh well. Harrison Nunes. This is a big fight.
After Dana White announced the new UFC lineup, attention quickly shifted to Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. Michael Bisping broke down their situation, explaining how Justin had been waiting for a title shot while Paddy called him out for his stance. Bisping noted that Justin's complaints about deserving a fight made headlines, but now both fighters would settle things in the octagon, building anticipation for the matchup.
So this is a great card, okay? So let's talk about this. Justin Gaethje was kind of sitting around on the sidelines saying he wants a title fight or that's it. Paddy Pimblett called him a bit of a little bitch for having that stance. Said, listen, I like Justin, but he's a bit of a bitch for talking like that.
You know, don't ever want to say a bad word about Justin Gaethje, because he's a legend, but he's doing interviews lately being a proper you know what I mean? Saying the UFC owe him and he deserves it and all that. No one's owed nothing. You know what I mean? You fight for it.
Well, now they get to settle it in the octagon. I did think that Paddy was kind of the front runner. Certainly after he stepped into the octagon when Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira, they had that back and forth.
Bisping continued by breaking down the history and rivalries between Ilia, Paddy, and past opponents, noting how storylines like the hand sanitizer boy moment add extra heat. He highlighted that Justin Gaethje, even at 36, is still one of the most explosive and well-rounded fighters in the division, with powerful striking and solid wrestling. Bisping concluded that both bring strong skills, making the matchup highly competitive.
Ilia had the belts on, both belts on, pushes Paddy. It was a bit of an awkward moment. That fight looked destined to happen, and of course for years now, Paddy Pimblett's been giving him shit, calling him the hand sanitizer boy and all that type of stuff, right?
I don't understand you or anything. Back in the flouty mouth, like what?
Hand sanitizer boy!
I hope they fight down the line because there's certainly a storyline built in, but this is a very, very tough competitive matchup. Now, Justin Gaethje is no spring chicken. I think he's 36 years old, but you know what you're going to get with Justin Gaethje. Yes, of course, against Max Holloway at UFC 300.
He also reflected on Paddy Pimblett's previous victories, including his dominant win over Michael Chandler, showing he's undefeated in the UFC and a serious contender. Bisping described Paddy's preparation and athleticism, noting his transformation and readiness for this fight. He concluded that the matchup was built in skill, history, and personal rivalry, promising fans an intense and thrilling contest that both fighters are fully prepared to deliver in the octagon.
He got knocked out, he got embarrassed, he got face planted. I tell you what, it was a shocking scene, okay? But that's not normally what happens with Justin Gaethje. He is one of the most exciting fighters. They do call him the human highlight reel for a reason. He's got great wrestling, but the boxing, the striking, the leg kicks, the punch power that he has, I'm telling you, this man is no joke. And neither is Paddy Pimblett, right? We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC. He put a beating on Michael Chandler. And let's remember, Chandler went toe-to-toe with Gaethje, gave Dustin Poirier a good run, knocked out Dan Hooker. So it's not like he's a bum. Yes, he hasn't been winning fights. We all know that. But Paddy made it look different. He beat the living hell out of him. Simple as that. And I knew he had something coming up because last week when I saw him in Qatar.
Adding to that, Ariel Helwani broke down how the UFC could have structured the fights more logically. He explained that a matchup between Paddy and Justin makes sense as a way to determine the next contender for either Ilya or Arman. Helwani questioned why the bout was treated as an interim title fight and suggested it would have been more appropriate as a co-main event considering the champion's eventual return.
If Paddy wasn't fighting Ilya, and Ilya's supposed to fight Arman, on paper, Paddy vs. Justin is a fine fight to determine the number one contender to fight Ilya and or Arman. Ilya won that belt back in June. I don't even think you need an interim title fight. Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, number one contender fight, Ilya versus Arman, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilya. What happens to Arman?
Furthermore, as the UFC interim title fight approaches, analysts are breaking down the matchup between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. The MMA guru explained that Pimblett has excellent range, keeps his distance well, and mixes striking with takedowns effectively. He emphasized that Pimblett is in top form, while Gaethje has gone through many tough fights. This sets up a competitive matchup where Pimblett's control and dynamic style could give him an edge.
Let's do this. Yeah. Justin Gaethje, the boys in the main event, dude. Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. I reckon Pimblett's going to win. He keeps at very good range. Very good range. Keeps his distance a lot. Doesn't get caught up in the pocket too much. Throws in volume when he does throw a lot of the time with his 1-2, 1-2, and then a jump knee. And a lot of dynamic things that can get the better of Gaethje. Plus, he's going to mix in the takedowns. And Gaethje's getting up there in his career. He's just going through more and more wars, more and more scraps, a ton of time off. Pimblett coming into his prime. Has been in shape for a while for this matchup as well. Pimblett, get me on the Chatting Pony pod. I know I'm controversial, but listen, guys, we could... Come on, now we can make this a big deal in the build-up here. In person, I'd go in person. But there you go. This is an amazing fight. This is a banger matchup.
The guru then focused on Pimblett's grappling, highlighting his ability to control opponents on the ground and set up submissions. He compared this to past fights, where Gaethje struggled against strong jiu-jitsu, showing that Pimblett's versatility in ground and striking game could dominate. The analyst also mentioned that Pimblett's preparation and prime condition gave him a strategic advantage, making him a favorite while still acknowledging Gaethje's striking threat.
And I do think Pimblett will win. I think Pimblett will probably sub him as well. I think he'll mix it up. Takedowns, striking, something Fiziev did, but doesn't have the jiu-jitsu to keep a hold of Gaethje with. And Fiziev kept Gaethje down in like an inverted triangle position for like the majority of round one. I know Gaethje's somewhat decent at scrambling, but it turns out Chandler has no ability to control in any way whatsoever without throwing himself off the top of someone and ending up on bottom, or messing it up completely and using a ton of energy for no success. So I think Pimblett's got that back-taking ability. Pimblett's got that control, that stick to you, that get you in a submission position type jiu-jitsu, that, which is obviously any type of jiu-jitsu, but you know what I mean, he's got that level that I think is going to be able to keep Gaethje down with his back taken for a while in this fight. So I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblett here. I'm going to say Pimblett wins this fight by TKO to ground and pound.
Finally, he predicted that Pimblett could win by submission or TKO in the second round, and noted that the winner would eventually face Ilya. The Guru explained that Aaliyah is unavailable until later due to personal issues, including a difficult divorce and family matters. Despite this, Gaethje still has tools like low kicks and hooks that could challenge Pimblett, keeping the fight exciting and giving fans a compelling matchup to watch.
In the second round, or a submission win in the second round. And we'll see what happens, because after that, he's going to be fighting Ilia Topuria at the White House in January. Or not in January, in May or whatever it is, because Ilia Topuria, I won't be fighting in the first quarter of next year. I'm going through a difficult time in my personal life. I want to focus on my children and resolve this situation as soon as possible. And I said I wasn't sure until I've just seen this, but based on what I've been told, I actually understand why Ilia has chosen to do this. The divorce is going to be messy as fuck. There's an allegation. And what I mean by that is, she posted some like domestic violence themed things on her Instagram story, apparently. I've been sent a lot of this behind the scenes. And yeah, a few days ago.
Arman Tsarukyan being left out of the UFC main card has caused widespread frustration and debate among fans, analysts, and fellow fighters. Despite his impressive performance against Dan Hooker, where he showcased dominant striking and grappling, Arman remains overlooked for high-profile opportunities. He has stayed ready for months, showing dedication and discipline, yet UFC's matchmaking decisions sometimes prioritize factors like timing, popularity, or promotional strategy over merit. This leaves Arman in a difficult position, forced to wait longer for a title shot and carefully plan his next fight to remain a top contender. Many believe he deserves recognition and a clear path to the belt based on his skill and recent performances. So what do you think? Should Arman have been included on the main card instead of the interim title fight between Paddy and Gaethje? Share your thoughts in the comments.